So, hi there. This is Mckenna Canty. I'm a senior at UMass Amherst and an intern with the New Music Alliance. Today I'm interviewing Roger Salloom, a very talented musician whose song Get Up and Vote was featured on this week's episode of the Radio Music Hour. So, Roger, how and when did you get into music and performance?
Well, Mckenna, that's a good question. I know that I did my first little gig when I was 14 for a YMCA summer camp type program for kids, poor kids in Worcester, Massachusetts. And I must have been playing for 2 years at that point. So I would say I started playing around 12. And I started playing banjo. I loved music, and my mother was a very quiet, demure woman, and she took me down to get a banjo, a 5-string banjo. So my first lessons were on banjo, and then eventually I said my voice is better suited with guitar, or I like the warmth of the guitar versus the clink of the banjo. But there's a place for banjo. It was remarkable how country I was. And nowadays I don't play anything country. But I know country music, so I draw from it, and I even at a young age I loved Ray Charles and Pete Seeger and the Kingston Trio, and Bob Dylan, and old blues. I used to love Lead Belly and Jimmy Reed, and then I got into even more stuff, and so I love all kinds of music. Right now I'm in this heavy-duty Motown, rhythm and blues, chess records kind of attraction.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, that goes well into my next question. So, who are your musical inspirations, or like maybe your top 5 favorite artists?
Okay, well, Van Morrison, his voice sends me into a swoon. I just love his singing. I've actually shared the bill with him.
Wow.
So I really love him. I hear him, and for me, I'm in some kind of church or religious, something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's Morrison, Bob Dylan, Ray Charles, Hank Williams, Jimmy Rogers, the legendary Jimmy Rogers, Jimmy Reed, Lead Belly, Pete Seeger at the Kingston Trio. You asked for 5, and I gave you a lot more than 5.
That is more than okay. Those are all great choices.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so how would you maybe describe your music to someone who hasn't heard it before?
Well, it's awfully hard to be an accurate editor or assessor of who you are.
Right.
It's really hard to have that perspective. But I would say I'm a little bit like a lot of those people I mentioned. Plus throw in, all these old blues and old Motown people, and I love that stuff. Yeah, I would say I'm a little bit like Van Morrison, Bob Dylan, any old black American blues singer.
Yep.
Let me see for a minute. And then a few jazz singers, too, because I sing sometimes in my mind as if I'm a horn player or a guitar player, the phrasing. I read in the last 10 years, Sinatra did that, too. He would hear a trumpet player, sax player, and he would get, he'd capture their phrasing. And I get that. I do.
Absolutely. Those are all awesome influences. Do you have any musical goals or dreams right now? I know you've throughout your career or anything.
Yeah, I just had one of my songs picked up. I didn't forget where it was. It was with a publisher in LA. And in fact, it's running right now on television. It's on Disney Plus, a National Geographic TV series called The Right Stuff.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, I've been watching that. But it's just a needle drop, it's just an incidental piece of music. There's no thematic music to that to that TV. That's exciting. And also I have a song right now. It's being produced. I really love it. It's not done yet, though. But, nowadays we mail things to each other. I was going to do a duet with Linda Ronstadt about 8 years ago, and she had to cancel at the last minute. I would have never seen her in person to do this recording. So we're just shuffling files back and forth between New England and Nashville. And I have a producer, a young man named Jamie Kent, who just had a number 16 record. He's not country, really, but he had a number 16 record on the Americana chart. I mean, on the Billboard's top 100 chart, a much, much more potent chart. And that's amazing because they didn't even have a record label. That is an amazing achievement. We've been friends for years, and but he's a young guy. He's like 33, and he loves this song I wrote about getting discharged from a hospital after a very serious, deadly illness. And it's an up-tempo tune. He produced it, and it's great. And if we stay in touch, it'll probably be ready to be shown around within a month for sure. But it's very timely because so many people have become sick.
Yeah, a lot of people are going through that, definitely.
Yeah, 5 million extra people are getting very sick. We're in a tough place now, and I think we'll get out of it. But the song is about, getting released and the joy of getting released after a deadly illness. So anyway, that's one of my goals. Yeah. I don't care about fame or fortune. I mean, I wouldn't mind making a few bucks, but I'm a little bit of a self-saboteur, apparently, because over my whole life, I've refused to do certain things that would have helped my career. And also, I didn't have the proclivity to do those certain things to help my career. With this fellow, Chris Sauter, made a movie about me called So Glad I Made It, the saga of Roger Salloom, America's Best Unknown Songwriter. And it won 6 awards and got recommended by Grammy Magazine and such. But I would follow it around after a while. I go with him to these screenings and these showings and these film festivals. And I used to say I've paid attention in much detail and gone to great lengths to bring my career to a complete halt. And it became a funny thing, Yeah.
My next question for you is, what is your favorite memory of performing live?
That was a great question. I saw you sent it to me. And I love that question because, performers are all about the experience, the experience they have. And just as importantly, and usually more importantly, the experience that they convey and get the audience to experience. That is very big deal to get people to feel good or to make people laugh or to make them feel joy. And in this day and age when people are so isolated and lonely, that's my job to do that. So I have a show at 6:30 every Friday on Facebook, Roger Salloom, singer-songwriter. And that's my goal, is to make them feel good and make me feel good too, of course. Well, the last performance is the best, but I don't know. I remember one time I did a show. I'm trying to think of where it was. And people were really tuned in to every little subtle thing I was doing. And the audience en masse together simultaneously gasped. G-A-S-P-E, gasped at some vocal thing I had done. And that was the really magic moment. But I've had many. I mean, I honestly say that. What's better than people standing up and cheering or making people laugh?
Yeah, absolutely.
They kind of come in like it's it's an emergency room, urgent care, and they come in, and I like to think that, and when I'm doing my best, I'm suturing them up, getting rid of their illness and discharging them.
Yeah, that's such a cool metaphor. Absolutely. So cool. And for my last question is, what inspired you to write your song, Get Up and Vote, and what was the songwriting process like for that?
Well, that's pretty interesting. there's very few people who can ask me to write a song, and I'll actually do it. But what happened was the guy who made the movie about me, we became acquaintances. I didn't know him when he approached me originally, but we became acquaintances, and it turns out he's a very big deal in the political world. In fact, he was the first guy that President Obama ever asked to help him on President Obama's bid to become president.
Wow.
Because Chris Sauter's real career is managing political campaigns. So he made a film, and he asked me if I would write a song, and normally I would probably not do that, but Chris is a big deal to me. I just really value his sensitivity and his input in my life. And so I wrote a song about voting, and he used it in the film, and then we used it to make a video to oppose Roy Moore in Alabama when and Roy Moore lost. But they asked, Chris asked me to make a song, and I'll give you a little insider tip. For whatever reason, I started thinking about and kind of streaming Old Man River from Porgy and Bess. And that's how I did it. But then, of course, it's my own song. It's not Old Man River. But that's what made me do it, and that's how I did it.
Wow, that is so cool. That's awesome. Thank you so much for talking to me today. I've really enjoyed getting to know you and hearing a little more about your music.
Sure, it's my pleasure. Thank you for being interested.
Of course, yes. Well, we'll keep an eye out for your song on the Radio Music Hour, and we'll check out any of your other music as well.
You just heard an interview with Western New England singer-songwriter Roger Salloom. This is Mckenna Canty signing off for the New Music Alliance, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping the careers of Western New England artists who write original music.